Morning. That's Trey's Alamos over there. Gonna break here to talk a little anime.
Red Garden.
Red Garden is a shoujo horror anime from a couple of years ago, and I recorded my first impressions based on ADV Films' first Red Garden DVD release a little over a year and a half ago. Little did I know how long I was going to have to wait before I finally got to see the ending. But after a lengthy hiatus, during which ADV Films imploded and the US license was eventually rescued by Funimation, the last volume is finally out. So, I finally got to see the end of the series. At least it was worth the wait. I wasn't that surprised that I liked Red Garden, despite my usual disdain for the horror genre. While it does have its roots in supernatural horror, it's not about blood and cheap shocks. It's about four interesting characters thrust into a horrible situation and their attempts to cope with that. The story is set in New York rather than Japan, and the characters all have Western names. The main characters are four teenage classmates at an exclusive girls' school. Kate is a refined and well-mannered young lady from a very proper and well-to-do family. She's a member of the school's elite club, Grace, a sort of honor society, student council, and hall monitors all rolled into one. Claire is the opposite, the school's tough girl, delinquent from the bad part of town. Chronic absenteeism and a bad past include shoplifting, and she lives on her own and struggles to pay her rent. Rose is quiet, gentle, and kind. She balances her schoolwork with caring for her two younger siblings after her father left them and her mother fell ill. Rachel is a popular party girl, a social butterfly with the in crowd, narcissistic, flirty, and fashionable. Lisa was a pretty friend to all four of these girls, but as the story opens, she's dead. The four girls wake to hangovers after a very rough night, during which none of them have any memories of what happened. We know how rough this night was because the prologue shows us the unconscious girls being returned to their homes by strangers in the dead of night. That day at school, they learn their friend Lisa is dead, one of a string of apparent suicides in the city that the police find suspicious. The next night, they each get a shock as they are each mysteriously drawn to the same dark, secluded spot by a vision of butterflies of all things.
Rose? You're kidding me. Claire. So everyone who notices them ends up coming here?
This is freaking me out. What the hell's going on?
We should get out of here.
Wait.
Someone's coming.
Oh my god.
These girls are about to meet the mysterious Lula and her brother JC. Lula coldly tells the girls that all four of them are dead. Lula has given them second lives, and if they want to keep those lives, they're going to have to fight for them. On cue, a ghoulish monster man appears, and the girls must kill it with their bare hands before it kills them. And they'll have to do it again the next time the butterflies summon them too. Luckily, they'll discover their recycled bodies are tougher than their old ones. Later, shared memories of that lost night will convince the girls that Lula was telling them the truth and they really are dead, just like Lisa, though who killed them and why and where will take some time to unfold. Back in their normal lives in the light of day, they struggle to adjust to the horror of their nights and the juxtaposition of that with their trivial daily lives of school and family socializing, and they wait each evening with dread for the summons that may or may not come. Despite several ugly battles with the ghoulish enemy, the focus of this story is not with that, but how the girls cope with their different lives. It's hard to maintain relationships with friends and loved ones when a mystic vision may call you away at any moment to tear something apart. The series deals with that pretty well, giving us four separate, realistic portraits of these four different girls, almost a soap opera of pain, love, and heartache. First, Kate will have trouble maintaining the sophisticated pose of one of the school's elite, and she begins to wonder if being the creme de la creme is really that important to her. Tough Claire has money struggles and wonders if the school and normalcy are worth the effort. She seeks a reunion with her estranged brother. But she has one strong will to survive. Pretty girl Rachel seems to have the toughest job. Her life of seeking the latest fashions and hottest trends and coolest parties just doesn't seem to have the importance it used to have. Sweet Rose is physically the weakest of the quartet, terrified of the violence that's erupted and useless in those fights. But what keeps her going is the love of her two younger siblings who count on her for care and the search for her father. I'd also like to observe that Rose has one of the best friends in the whole world, one who sticks with her despite the mysterious and tortured secrets that Rose now keeps. These are all girls who used to pass each other in the hallway at school and sat in the same classroom, but they were never really friends before. They hung in different circles. They'll now bicker and argue among themselves, but they'll also learn a lot from each other. And that's really the strength of Red Garden, these characters, the frayed relationships with their past lives, and their tenuous relationships with their new one. Red Garden is often creasy, exciting, and sometimes morose. It doesn't have a sense of humor or even crack a smile. It keeps itself centered on the characters' lives as much as their horrible situation, and it occasionally offers us a glimpse of hope.
行きたい戻りたいって必死になってたくせにそんなに輝いてないの元の世界が
でもまあまあそっくり元に戻んなくったっていいんじゃないかって思えてきた何にもなくなっちゃうよりマシだよ
Red Garden will take us into the lives of some of the enemy too, so they're not just faceless, ghoulish monsters anymore. In fact, we'll learn about this so-called enemy than we will about Lula's agenda early on. The series doesn't have enough action to sustain the interest of fight fans. It's surprisingly light on blood and gore, and if you're looking for fan service, this is going to disappoint. The real question is, will the story deliver an ending worth waiting almost 2 years for, or watching 22 episodes for? First, I wanted some explanation for the girls' revivification, what the fights were about, and who the enemy was. Happily, Red Garden spares us the mystic mumbo-jumbo while eventually delivering an acceptable explanation of why, though it's doled out in small pieces along the way. Lastly, I wanted some sort of conclusion, a resolution of catharsis of some sort. Again, I was glad to see Red Garden delivered a solid ending, and it spent as much time dealing with the emotional effects on the cast leading up to that conclusion as it did on the actual climax itself. You might be thinking, dead people brought back to life to spend their nights fighting monsters. Isn't that Gantz? Well, yes, there's a sort of a similar premise to Gantz, but without so much explicit blood and gore and nudity, and without the shallow, unlikable characters, or the stupidity of the dialogue. Oh, and Red Garden has an actual ending. Red Garden is directed by Ko Matsuo. It lists many different episode directors and different screenwriters, so I have to assume, without a head writer, that it was the director who managed to hold the story and character integrity throughout the series. You probably noticed Red Garden's character designs are a little unusual too, eschewing the usual cute girl art for a more stylish presentation. I did keep wondering why Kate and Rachel always showed up for fights in designer clothes. Don't these chicks own jeans and a t-shirt for dirty work? The art style is modestly different as well, giving us bright, cheerful colors in the daytime and fading to shades of moody gray at night. The animation is by Gonzo, and they've restrained their baser instincts to deliver a solid rendition. The interior music is by Kira Senju. It manages to enhance the mysterious mood of the story very well. There are a couple of times where the characters surprised us by singing, and that initially strikes you as really weird. I can't recall many anime musicals unless they involved idol singers, but here the girls, each in a different location, pass around a sad song among themselves in very non-idol singer voices. In Japanese, the lip sync is fine, but the singing puts a huge strain on the English dub voices. The opening title credits have a cool, jazzy song and bright, colorful opening animation that's very shoujo. You almost expect an episode of Paradise Kiss to follow that. I have to admit I found the closing credits song akin to scraping fingernails over a blackboard. At the halfway point, they swap it for a more Shakespearean tune by the same singing group, but I'm just going to have to admit that LMC is not to my taste. I guess that's why there's a chapter skip button. I used ADV Films English dub for my primary viewing, and I found it pretty well done, except for that singing stuff, and the Japanese voices are still there if you prefer those. If you're wondering, the same English voice team did all the episodes despite the change in U.S. license company along the way. I give Red Garden 4 stars. It's a stylish shoujo horror story, merged with some soap opera elements, and it managed to keep me interested in the lives of its 4 characters right up to the end. Neither ADV Films nor the final volume from Funimation have put any notable extras on the DVDs, except I was surprised to discover that on the final volume of the DVD, the Red Garden OVA, Dead Girls, was included on that final DVD. I was expected to find that OVA published separately someday, and I'll probably get around to discussing that separately pretty soon. Thanks for listening.